If South Africa isn't already on your bucket list, this video is about to change that. Over the next 10 days, we're taking you on one of the most breathtaking road trips in the world on the Garden Route. From hiking Table Mountain and Lion's Head at sunrise, to spotting penguins, whales, and the Big Five, to luxury stays, heart-pounding adventures, and moments that genuinely felt like we were at the edge of the world. This is the kind of trip that has a little bit of everything. This will show you how to experience the best of South Africa's Garden Route, from Cape Town to the Karoo and everything in between. And thanks to Norton for sponsoring today's video. If you guys are new here, we're Giselle and Steven, also known as the Lover's Passport, and we're taking you on a new bucket list adventure every single week of the year. We just spent 3 weeks in Africa, traveling through Namibia and now South Africa, and we cannot wait to take you on this journey. If you guys love to travel and want to see more bucket list experiences, make sure to give us a like and subscribe. And with that, let's go ahead and jump into the video.
So how do you get over to Cape Town? There are not as many options in terms of direct flights as you would think for the US directly. We decided to go out of Newark, and there was a direct about 15 and a half hour flight from New Jersey all the way to Cape Town. It honestly wasn't that bad. We've been on a lot of long haul flights though, so keep that in mind. The longest we've done is a 17-hour flight from LAX to Doha in Qatar, and you can check out that video up here. That was pretty crazy. But we just flew economy out there via United, and that's who we came back with as well, and it was pretty seamless, honestly, so that's a great route to go. Some other people on our group trip traveling with us did a direct flight from Atlanta, Georgia. That's another option. And then the other people in our party decided to fly through Istanbul, connect in Turkey, and then go directly from Istanbul. The other most popular route is going through Frankfurt, Germany. Those are probably the 4 most popular ones out of everyone we met traveling to Cape Town from the US. After we got our luggage and all checked in at the airport, we headed over to our Airbnb for the first night, which was a beautiful property overlooking Clifton Beach and Camps Bay. Good morning from Camps Bay. We have got this beautiful Airbnb property that we rented for the night last night. We got to watch the sunset from here, and this is one of the best sunset locations. You can either go down to Camps Bay, walk along the sidewalk over here. There's some other viewpoints, as well as the famous rock viewpoint, or you could do one of the hikes over here. But it's a great sunset and sunrise area, but particularly sunset was so beautiful. Now we get to have coffee on our balcony before we head into the downtown area of Cape Town. We're just soaking it in. This is truly like such a beautiful location to wake up to. If you guys want to check out the link to this Airbnb that we're at, I will put it down in the description box below for you. After we watched the sunset, we headed over to Kloof Street House. Our friends Ian and Anna, who are also travel YouTubers, recommended this spot, and it was phenomenal. The vibe was really fun. It was very aesthetic. The cocktails were phenomenal. The service was really good, and the food was awesome. The one thing I'll note is you'll want to make a reservation here in advance if you want to go. We did not do it prior to the day of, but we did call in at 5 p.m. to see if they had any last minute availability, and they did. We Ubered down here. It was a pretty quick Uber. Uber is great to get around Cape Town directly. Not as much when you get outside of Cape Town. It's way less reliable, but it is super efficient and very easy to use throughout the actual Cape Town area. So we didn't rent a car this trip at all since we had a driver the rest of the time. But if you were just staying in Cape Town, I honestly don't think you would need to rent a car because Uber is so efficient and affordable.
To start off day 2 of our trip, we hiked up one of the most famous hikes in all of Cape Town called Lion's Head. Good morning.
Good morning.
It is currently 5 a.m. on the way up. We started hiking up for sunrise, and it took us around 45 minutes to 1 hour to get up to the top. It's known for being pretty windy up there, and it was a pretty exciting hike due to that. Good morning from Lion's Head. We just finished this hike. It was so gorgeous. There's 2 different ways you can go up. There's one way that is like a little ladder section.
We got some early morning ladders,
and it is a little sketchy to do in the dark, so just be aware. There's also a way where you can just walk around to the left, and it's the recommended route. It's very well marked. This is probably the most famous hike in all of Cape Town, and you definitely want to do it for sunrise or sunset. Sunrise, you get the sun coming up over Table Mountain, and during sunset, it sets over the ocean, so you get some really nice golden light against it. So if you do park here, the parking lot is super small. You do want to make sure that you are very safe here. Keep your valuables with you. Don't leave anything in your car. If you do park, just be very aware of where you are coming.
A little bit of a rock scramble, as you can see on the way up. Very similar to Angel's Landing, honestly. But this is the kind of terrain you will be going up.
We recommend doing it at sunrise if you want to experience this place without a lot of people. After you finish your morning hike at Lion's Head, we would recommend heading over to Truth Social Cafe. This spot is so delicious. We honestly went here multiple times because it was so good. It made me feel like I was going into a winery, and you know how they describe the wines with the different notes and how you should drink it and the best way to taste it, whether you taste it with cheese or chocolate. Well, they basically treat their coffee just like that. It was so delicious. The food was also really, really good, and the atmosphere of the whole vibe of the establishment was a 10 out of 10. So definitely make sure you head to Truth Coffee at some point during your trip to Capetown. And like I said, we were hosting a group trip, so we ended the day going to Gold's Capetown. This place was so much fun. It's an immersive African dining experience, and we started off drumming as soon as we walked in, which was something super unique that we had never done before. Then you start eating. We got to try ostrich, which was super unique. Then they even did face painting on us, where everyone in the room got a unique face painting. People got up on stage and started dancing, and it was such a beautiful way to experience the African culture. If you have a group, I would definitely do this, but even if you are just a couple or a family, I think it's something that everyone would enjoy. I would compare it to doing something like a luau in Hawaii. It was just a really fun cultural experience where you will get completely immersed in it, and the staff there is just phenomenal. If you guys want to go and do the exact one we did, we went ahead and put the QR code right over here so you can go and experience this African dining experience.
For day 3, we're gonna start off with Chapman's Peak Drive. This is a very famous drive area. It does cost a little bit of money to enter. And if you're going on a tour bus, it's actually one way only. You can't do a round trip because you are right along the coast. It's very curvy and twisty and turny, but passenger vehicles, you should be able to drive it both ways. It is famous for being one of the most scenic coastal drives in the whole world. I would honestly compare this similarly to driving Highway 1 in California. That's the vibes it gave me. It was so beautiful, so stunning. The view of the beaches from this drive are just chef's kiss, and the mountains, and honestly, it's just such a gorgeous area. It truly deserves that spot in the rank of one of the top beautiful drives in the world. It's located near Capetown, and it winds dramatically along the cliffs between Hout Bay and Nordhook, offering jaw-dropping views of the Atlantic Ocean and the rugged mountains of the Cape Peninsula. You get to pass Nordhook Beach and Long Beach, which is famous for its incredible natural beauty, its vast untouched shoreline, and serene atmosphere, and it makes it one of Capetown's most iconic coastal spots. And we drove this drive all the way over to the very famous beach, Boulders Beach, to go out for a kayaking tour, which I actually really recommend because it gives you a different perspective of the penguins, and you get a little more wildlife interaction. You get to see more of the beach than if you were to just walk along the boardwalk. So we loved being able to do the kayaking tour. It took us along Boulders Beach, and then it took us into some adjacent bays, and we got to hop out for a nice swim. Granted, it was a little bit chilly. If you're not used to cold water, this one will be like a cold plunge for you, but it was very nice. The water was clear, and we got to see lots and lots of wildlife over here. Seeing the penguin colonies, they were just so cute. I definitely recommend doing both the kayak and the boardwalk if you want to get up close and personal with the penguins, and try and get there as early as possible because it does get extremely busy in the middle of the day. I believe it opens up at 8 a.m. at the time that we went. You'll want to check the website in advance, and you can also pre-purchase your tickets online to visit Boulders Beach, so that way you don't have to wait in line to buy your ticket once you get there, and you can just go straight on in, and that'll probably be your best viewing experience for the penguins. I will link the exact kayaking tour that we did right over here for you so you guys can book it yourselves. It was totally worth the experience. After we spent some time over at Boulders Beach and the beautiful bay area, we headed on over down to the Cape of Good Hope.
We have made it here to the Cape of Good Hope. This is the southwesternmost point of the entire African continent, and it's a very important area in the history of exploration. So lots of good history told here.
It's also where towering cliffs meet two of the world's great oceans and where early explorers once believed they'd reached the very end of Africa. Back in the 1400s, Portuguese sailors first rounded this point, naming it the Cape of Storms because of its violent seas, but it soon became known as the Cape of Good Hope as a symbol of discovery, endurance, and possibility. And today, it's part of Table Mountain National Park, which is also home to wild baboons, ostriches, and views that make you feel like you're standing at the edge of the world. We did see a lot of wild ostrich over here, and they were super cute. They were actually laying on their eggs, and so it was really cool to see them with a backdrop of the ocean over here. You can actually also go up to the lighthouse. You can either take a cable car up or you can hike up. It's about a 10-15 minute walk. It's really not anything crazy. We opted to walk up, and it's got some beautiful panoramic views on both sides of the lighthouse. Just note there's some flies and like gnats up there, so you might be swatting away some bugs, but it is absolutely scenic and I do recommend doing it. It's like right along a paved pathway. I wouldn't even call it a hiking trail, but there is a little bit of elevation gain, so make sure you're wearing sunscreen, sturdy closed-toed shoes, etc. This whole area has some beautiful hikes, so make sure to bring your hiking shoes if you're going to visit this area and spend a couple of hours exploring out here. There's also a little cafe that you can go and get some lunch at. We went and got some burgers and some drinks, and it was a nice little refreshing way to end our time here.
Yeah, this has been a lovely afternoon, and it's perfect to add to your itinerary right after you go into Boulder's beach area.
And to round out your action-packed day 3, we are heading back over to Table Mountain for sunset to finish the day. This was one of my favorite views in all of Cape Town, and for a very good reason. You get full 360 panorama views of Lion's Head up here, of the 12 Apostles, and of the coast. Especially at sunset, it is just gorgeous. And it's for good reason. This is actually known as one of the new 7 wonders of the world, and once again, a ranking that we actually think is very fair. Its flat-topped peak rises over 1,000 meters above sea level, and you can either hike your way up to the top, or you can take the rotating cable car, which provides 360-degree views on your way up. Rotating.
Dude, we're moving pretty quick.
That's what we opted to do. We would highly recommend booking your tickets in advance. The line does get very, very long. We got really lucky when we went towards the end of the day instead of the middle of the day, and we didn't have to wait at all. But we've heard if you get there right when it opens and you just also time it when there's a ton of tour buses midday, that you could be waiting for up to 30 minutes to an hour. We love doing it for sunset. It was way less crowded than we thought it was going to be, and we were able to get on the cable car within 5 minutes. One thing to note is to check the closing time, because you don't want to get stuck up there once the gondola down closes unless you planned on hiking down. So there is an alarm that will go off notifying you when it is closing, and make sure to get in line for that gondola down. Typically it's right around sunset, so you'll just want to plan in advance for that. After that, we headed back into downtown Cape Town and we grabbed dinner at Haiku, which is this Asian tapas restaurant. It was probably one of my favorite dinners of the whole year, and I'm not exaggerating. We went back there again later in our trip in Cape Town because it was that good. We really recommend checking it out if you love good Asian food.
The next day, we left Cape Town and headed over to Hottentot Nature Reserve Zipline.
How are you feeling? What are we doing?
This is where the adventure really began. It was one of our favorite activities that we did in all of Africa. We got to go off-roading up the side of a mountain, and it honestly looked just like Switzerland. And then we got to do 11 different zip lines before heading back down.
How are we feeling after the first 2?
Uneasy.
She's getting there. She's getting there. That's progress. How are we feeling? Yeah.
The guides were one of the best parts, and it was just the whole group that we went with. A group of 20 had a ton of fun. There was one zip line that was extremely long and went over a waterfall. There were other zip lines where you could jump off and do spins. There were other ones that you just went extremely fast. We've done a lot of zip lining in places like Hawaii and different places in Europe and again in New Zealand, and I would honestly say that the one here in South Africa was a 10 out of 10 experience.
Okay, so we just finished up our zipline tour. Woo! That was so fun. I definitely recommend doing this while you're out exploring the Cape Town region in South Africa. Definitely bring a jacket. It gets a little chilly out here, and also some like closed-toed shoes because we're currently hiking up a kilometer out of the zip lines to get picked up by our 4x4. You do a little off-roading up here and on the way back down.
If you want to do the exact same zip line that we did, I went ahead and linked the QR code right over here so you can book that tour. It's a perfect trip from Capetown. And then after that, we drove over to Hermanus, which is known for being one of the best places in the entire world to go whale watching.
This is our handy little bus. Woo woo.
This place was such a cute, charming coastal town. The atmosphere was incredible, and there were so many stunning natural coastline views. It really reminded us of home back in California. It's located right on the South African southern coast, and from June to November, the southern right whales migrate super close to shore and they mate, and the calves often are near so that we can see them from the cliffs. It's one of the few places in the entire world where you can go whale watching from land, a boat, and even a kayak. During our trip here, we unfortunately did not get to see any of the whales breaching or swimming super close to shore. That being said, there were quite a few boats that were going out to go on whale watching tours here, so it was definitely a thing that you can see. Our hotel was right on the coastline, and you should be able to see whales from there. It's just such a crazy experience. We've gone swimming with whales out in French Polynesia. We've gone whale watching here in California and Hawaii, but we've never personally been able to see them from land. So this is one super unique town that you would definitely want to stop at on your garden route trip.
For day 5, it's time to leave Hermanus and head on over for your first safari. Our group trip predetermined where we were staying on this, so we stayed at Gondwana Nature Reserve, and we actually had a really amazing time here. It was really interesting because it was a very different experience than we did in Namibia when it came to safari. In Oudtshoorn National Park, it was super dry, the bush was everywhere, and here the landscape were so lush. There was trees everywhere, it was so green, and we saw some different wildlife out here than we did in Oudtshoorn, like hippos. Was not expecting that at all, so that was so cool. But Gondwana Game Reserve is a private Big 5 game reserve located on the garden route. It's about a 4-hour drive out of Capetown. The reserve is home to lions, leopards, elephants, rhinos, and cheetahs, as well as giraffes, zebras, hippos, and over 20 antelope species. I don't believe there were any buffaloes there, otherwise we just didn't see them. But we saw almost all of the Big 5. Similar to our safari in Namibia, they did a game drive in the morning and a game drive in the evening. They also had tea time midday, and then all of our food was included, which was really nice. And the food was amazing. Like, these were gourmet meals for lunch and dinner, like 3 courses. All the food was really, really good. And the staff there was very sweet. They had a really nice gift shop, a nice lounge. There was a pool there. I wish we actually had more time here, but I'm glad we at least got to spend one night and about a day and a half there doing 2 safaris and getting to relax and enjoy the wildlife.
Now, before we take you on a sunrise safari, I want to tell you about today's sponsor, Norton 360. We've personally been using Norton for the past 5 years and have loved it. It keeps us protected even though we've traveled to over 47 countries the past few years. It protects us in a lot of different ways, including when we connect to Wi-Fi. It protects us from getting any malware as well as any viruses. It also protects us from scams and different phishing activities when we get emails or when we are just on our computer. We personally have it on both our laptop and our phone, and it is so nice to know we are protected when we are out there traveling. Norton was able to block over 1.8 billion cyber attacks last year, and Norton blocks over 191 million phishing and scam threats on average every single year. It's just insane to know that there's that many hackers out there, and we want to make sure you stay protected when you travel. Make sure to download Norton 360 before your next trip by scanning this QR code right over here. Now with that, let's go ahead and jump into one of the most beautiful sunrise safaris we've gone on. During our sunrise safari, it started off pretty slow. We were driving through the morning, we didn't see a whole lot, and we were searching for lions. We had saw that their footprints were headed towards the front gate of Gondwana, so our guide was tracking them. And then as we were going down and up these hills for what felt like hours, our guide pulled out his binoculars and was able to see a lion, which felt like a half a mile to a full mile away, and he saw it. It was so cool. We were able to drive closer to the lion and have such a neat interaction. It almost felt like it was hunting and searching for both the female lions and their next kill for the day. It was one of the most surreal lion experiences that we had, especially because the night before we found them during the evening and we couldn't really see them. We couldn't get too close to them because it was so dark. So it was really nice to be able to see them during our sunrise safari. Now, after our sunrise safari, we started heading over to Plettenberg Bay and we went to 2 more places which were super unique. The first one being the Birds of Eden Sanctuary. This is the world's largest single span free flight aviary. It covers about 2.3 hectares of indigenous forest in the Western Cape, and it's located, like I said, right next to Plettenberg Bay. It's home to 3,000 birds from 200 species flying freely inside the dome, and the walkways are honestly really nice because they're both elevated where you can get closer to the birds up in the top branches, as well as you can get pretty low and see different type of birds at different angles and various levels. This was one of the coolest things that we have personally done because there were so many colorful birds that I've never seen before, and it was really cool that this is a conservation effort as well as you get to see the birds much closer. Throughout all the safaris that we were doing in Africa, the birds were one of the hardest things to see because they were very quick to move and they oftentimes sat at the top of trees. So being able to walk amongst them and see them a little bit closer was so much fun. And if you aren't tired at looking at animals after the safari and checking out all of the birds, you need to head over to Monkeyland Primate Sanctuary. This is the world's first free-roaming multi-species primate sanctuary. It's located right near Plettenberg Bay as well, right next to the Birds of Eden, and it's home to over 550 primates across 9 different species. They were all rescued from zoos, labs, or the pet trade. And when we got to go, we explored the sanctuary on a guided walk through the lush indigenous forest. We saw lemurs, we saw gibbons, monkeys were swinging all over the place through the canopy, and there's no cages, which was really, really unique. It's one of the most ethical and immersive ways to observe primates up close while supporting a genuine conservation and rehabilitation effort. If you're already visiting Birds of Eden next door, this is the perfect follow-up stop. It gives you a chance to experience another incredible sanctuary where animals live freely and naturally. I will say though, you need to be careful of your glasses because when we were visiting, they warned us over and over and over that they will come up, grab your glasses, and then swing in the vine. So just be careful of that when you're visiting.
For today's itinerary, we're spending a lot of time out on the water. Plettenberg Bay is perfect if you love water activities, so the first thing that we're gonna do is go out paddleboarding. Plett not only offers beautiful ocean views, but it also has really cool lagoons and estuaries, which are ideal for stand-up paddleboarding, and whether you're a beginner or a seasoned pro, you're gonna love this area. We spent about an hour to 2 hours over here paddleboarding, swimming in the little lagoon connecting to the ocean, which was so much fun, and then we spent some time relaxing on the beach. The tides here change so much, so it was nice going out with a guide that could kind of tell us when the best time to go out was. Now, I will say we did get stuck with some low tide and we had to push our paddle boards a little bit, but that's all part of the adventure. We definitely recommend the guys that we went out with. We'll link the exact tour that we booked right over here for you guys and in the description below. After that, we headed on over for a very nice lunch at the Palms in Plett. This was a really cute little restaurant inside of one of the hotels here, and it had beautiful sweeping views over the lagoon and the ocean. So not only was it a very aesthetic vibe and the food and the cocktails were amazing, but the view was really great. After that, we went swimming with seals. We headed over to the famous Robberg Nature Reserve, which is where you're gonna be heading over for a hike for the following day in this itinerary, but it was just crazy. I've never seen so many little baby seals in my life. This area is home to a large colony of the native Cape fur seal. The tour begins with a very interesting start. You get like towed with a tractor off the beach in Plett and you get thrown into the ocean. Then you have about 15-20 minute drive over and it's beautiful. You get very, very scenic, lots of wildlife out on the water. And then you hit the seal colony in this gorgeous turquoise water. And the water is chilly, but they do give you a lot of like wetsuit options. And then they also give you protection against the seals in the random event that they might nip at you. Now, hopefully that's not the case. None of our group had any issues, but sometimes they come up to you and they're like, I don't know how else I would describe that. I feel like, Steven, that was pretty accurate, right? They're like little like little piranha chompers. They're just super curious and they'll swim up to you. And like one of them even came up and like slapped his fin at Steven's head, which was really funny. But they might come up and like look at your cameras or your snorkel fins. And yeah, they're just super cute and curious. We had a great time. I will say if you don't do well with seasickness, make sure to bring like your seasickness bands or like the little patches you put behind your ears, because sometimes the swell can get a little crazy over here. But I thought this was a really cool and unique experience that I have not done anywhere else. So I would definitely put it on your garden route bucket list.
How was that, G?
Cool. Little sea
After that, we headed over to the Lookout for dinner. It's a cute and casual spot right on the beach. It's a perfect little spot for sunset. It's nothing crazy in terms of food and drink, but it's all there for the view. So if you want a nice relaxing evening after a full day of adventure, this is a great casual spot to go out to dine.
The next morning, we started off with one of the most beautiful hikes on the entire garden route. This is called Robberg Nature Hike. It's just 8 kilometers south of Plettenberg Bay, and it has views of stunning rugged cliffs, sweeping ocean views, and it's a super historic area where you can go and really feel like you are out in nature with no cities around. There's 3 different loops that you can do. There's a short loop called the Gap Circuit. It takes around 30 minutes to do and is 2.1 kilometers, and it's a great scenic walk if you just want to go and dip your toes in the area. There's also the Middle Whitsand Circuit, which is what we did. It's 5.5 kilometers. It took us around 2 hours to do, and you get to go past dune fields, a sea colony, and get really beautiful panoramic views of the entire coastline. The last one is called the Full Point Circuit. It's 9 kilometers long. It takes between 4 and 5 hours, and it loops around the entire peninsula. I personally just think you need to do the second one, the one that we did, because we still got to see a bit of the coastline, some really unique dunes, and it didn't take us the full day. After we did our hike in Robberg Nature Reserve, we headed over to the Cango Caves. These are situated in the foothills of the Plettenberg Mountains that's about 30 kilometers outside of Oudtshoorn in the Western Cape, and it's a limestone built cave. It's one of South Africa's most unique natural attractions in the south area because it is such a massive cave. You'll find massive halls that you can walk through. There are stalactites and stalagmites. There's also an adventure route where you can crawl through this super small passage. It's a little bit harder, more adventurous. Don't do it if you're claustrophobic. And we personally really enjoyed walking through it, although this does not compare to some of the bigger caves that we have gone to, like Carlsbad Cavern in New Mexico. So if you've gone to any of the massive caves, this one will feel a little bit smaller in comparison. That being said, if you are doing the garden route and you have never done any of these massive cave tours before, Cango Caves is a perfect starter one where you still get an experience of going in the caves and seeing these really interesting rock formations without feeling like you're gonna get stuck in there because the caves are so big.
Next, you're doing another kind of safari, but it's not what you're probably thinking. You're gonna head out on a meerkat safari. These guys are dedicated to meerkat preservation, and I can't say I've seen meerkats in the wild before. It was really cute watching these 5 little meerkat family members poke their heads out, and what they did was what they called sun worshipping, and it was very funny. It reminded me a lot of our dog, our Chihuahua Karen, actually, when she gets up in the morning and is like poking her head around, but it was really cute. And then we also got a spontaneous little extra safari on top of that, which was so cool because we had low expectations, I'm not gonna lie. But we got another full-on safari where we saw a ton of different wildlife, including giraffes and zebras and so much more. So that just made it extra special because we had no idea that we were gonna see those animals as well. The meerkat safari is located at Buffalo's Drift's Game Lodge. Yeah, it was just a really awesome experience. They were the most knowledgeable safari guides, I think, that we had out of all of our safari guides between Namibia and South Africa. So that was a really cool thing to learn a lot from this game drive, even though it was slightly different than what you might think of as a typical safari drive. Before you start heading back towards Capetown, which is gonna be a couple hours of driving, but you'll get to stop at a winery. Now, South African wine is amazing. We had a ton throughout our trip, but we definitely recommend on your way back to stop at a winery, whether it's in Stellenbosch or one of the other regions as well. We had a bit of trouble with our bus ride on the way back. It kept breaking down. So the original winery in Stellenbosch that we were supposed to go to, we didn't get to because we had to call an audible and get a repairman for the bus and all this crazy stuff, which happens during traveling. But we did get to check out a really nice winery called the Ashton Winery. This was right in the middle of wine country out here, and it was just a nice little refreshing tasting. We did a full flight of whites and reds. My personal favorite was some of their pinotages, but you won't go wrong with any winery in this valley, honestly. All of the wine out here is phenomenal.
Now, the next 2 days we spent entirely in Capetown, so we're gonna be talking to you about some of our favorite things that we did in one of our new favorite cities in the world. Starting off at the V&A waterfront. This is Capetown's super beautiful harborfront hub. It kind of mixes history, luxury, and lifestyle all together. It's right on the edge of the harbor. It has beautiful views of Table Mountains as the backdrop, as well as it has over 450 stores. So many of them are different places where you can eat, as well as there's a lot of cultural spots that show off the arts, and it mixes in your extreme luxury stores. We honestly loved this area. If you're looking for any souvenirs or unique art pieces, this is the spot to get them. A lot of them are local African artists that have spent a lot of time creating different ceramic art pieces or different paintings or different murals and just face masks. There's so much in there. We honestly spent like 3 hours just walking around the shops and playing tourist. It was so much fun to kind of get lost in the harbor area. We also went and grabbed lunch at Harbor House. So I would personally recommend maybe doing a slower morning, heading over to the waterfront around 10 a.m., spending 2 or 3 hours exploring the shops and the beautiful views, and then after that grabbing a quick bite. We liked Harbor House. The oysters were phenomenal and it had some really nice views. For this section of our tip, we also stayed in Blauberg, which is around 15 to 20 minutes outside of Capetown. We honestly loved it though because it gave us a stunning view of the downtown area. We were able to wake up with coastline views. You had beautiful sunrises and beautiful sunsets, and we had the penthouse. If you guys want to book this exact same Airbnb, I'll go ahead and put the link over here, but it was definitely one of the best spots that you can stay if you have 6 or more people. It was really nice because it had 3 bedrooms and was really affordable for such an incredible spot. And one of our favorite things that we did on our entire trip was hiking up Kloof Corner.
We are out here hiking Kloof Corner for sunset tonight. It is right next to the Table Mountain aerial tramway, and you get a gorgeous view of Lion's Head off to your right when you're hiking up. It should theoretically take us about 25 minutes to get up here. Apparently it's a pretty short and easy sunset hike in Capetown. We've been told it's great for sunrise and sunset, but since we have a short amount of time to choose from, we're deciding to do it at sunset. And we're pretty excited because if the sunset at Table Mountain was any indicator of what it should be over here, it should be gorgeous.
This is a pretty quick hike. It brings you up and gives you stunning views of Capetown as well as views of Lion's Head. I will say that as you were hiking up, it's a lot steeper than I anticipated. I thought and I heard that it took around 20 minutes to get up to the top, but when we got up to the top, we were absolutely drenched and it did take us 20 minutes. So I might recommend that you get up there about an hour and a half to 2 hours before the actual sunset. The nice thing about Kloof Corner, if you're comparing it to Lion's Head is a little bit more crowded. When you get up there, it's a little bit longer of a hike, harder to bring like maybe a couple beers or some wine and have a picnic. Not as much area to sit. Compared to Kloof Corner, there's tons of areas where you can sit, relax, enjoy the views, have a little picnic, and it is a shorter hike. I would say that it will take you 20 to 30 minutes to get up there, but it is still a challenging hike with around 600 feet of elevation gain. So just keep that in mind.
Now for our last day, we're back in Capetown proper. If there's one thing in this itinerary that you have to do, that was my favorite thing that we did in Capetown, it was paragliding.
How are we feeling, ladies?
I'm ready.
How are you feeling, Kitty?
I'm ready.
Nervous, but excited.
All right, we are about to go paragliding. Normally, I guess they take off from Signal Hill, but they rescheduled it to Lion's Head. So we're doing a little 20-minute walk up.
It was so much fun. I've gone paragliding all over the place, but this is probably the most scenic one that we've ever done. Crazy. The view of the 12 Apostles was wild. I got to go all the way up to where we hiked up Lion's Head at the top. It was just unreal. The water down below, of course, you're flying over Camps Bay and Clifton Beach, and it was just the perfect way to end the trip. If you can give yourself a buffer day too, because sometimes it will get canceled based on the wind conditions. Our first time we tried booking it, it did get canceled and we had to move it to our last day here. It was nice that we had a little extra buffer day in case the weather didn't work out, and I would recommend doing the same for you if this is high on your list.
We booked this tour yesterday, I think, or 2 days ago on Get Your Guide, so I'll link the exact one that we booked right here and in the description box.
After that, we headed over to the historic area of Bo-Kop. There's actually a ton of free walking tours over here, so if you want to learn the history of this area, I highly recommend doing it. A lot of people in our tour group ended up doing that. If you just Google Capetown Bo-Kop free walking tour, it should pop up. I'll also put it down in the link in the description down below for you. But now this is a very trendy art area, so we went into a ton of art galleries, looked at some photographers, some painters. I left with some art, so that was super fun. But this is a very famous, colorful area. With roots in the 1760s, these were actually rental houses that were built for freed slaves and artisans. And now this area invites creators and travelers with its visual energy, heritage stories, and local flavor. I would give yourself an hour or two to walk around, learn the history of this area, and really take it all in and go and check out some of the amazing local artists. And since we loved it so much the first day when we were staying there at our Airbnb, we also decided to go back to Camps Bay, specifically walking down the famous little palm tree road down there, checking out all the shops. There was a volleyball tournament that was going on over there, so that was kind of fun to watch. Then we went over to the Maidens Cove area and just kind of relaxed and vibed and took it all in before we had to go back to the airport. And this is just one of my favorite spots I think that we went to. If you can stay for another sunset, I would definitely try and do Maidens Cove at sunset.
And that is it for our garden route experience in South Africa. We have fallen in love with this country. It reminds us so much of home, and we cannot wait to get back there and do it again. If you guys enjoyed this video and found value and want to go to South Africa, make sure you let us know down in the comments. And if you want to see more bucket list adventures just like this, make sure to give us a like and subscribe. Before your next trip, make sure to go and download Norton 360 so you can stay protected on all of your experiences. With that, we'll see you next week with another adventure.